Hello students, it's Sam Bennett, your guide to critical thinking, and this is another short video on a key concept. In this video, I will discuss the difference between inductive and deductive arguments. And this video is specifically designed for those who might be struggling to distinguish inductive from deductive arguments. Okay, so let's look at an argument and then try to figure out whether it's inductive or deductive. Okay, so all students have unique talents waiting to be discovered. I know this because I met a few students yesterday, and each of them had a unique talent that they had never told me about before. Okay, so yeah, the question is this argument inductive or deductive? Now, if you've watched some of the other videos, you figured out that it's incredibly important to distinguish the premises from the conclusion. And that's going to hold here too. The first thing you want to do is distinguish the premises from the conclusion. That's going to help us determine if it's inductive or deductive. Okay, so we put the premises in yellow and the conclusion in blue. So the conclusion of this argument is that all students have unique talents. And the premises are that, I know this because I met a few students yesterday and they all had a unique talent that they had never told me about before. Okay. This is what I want to highlight for you. Are you ready? This is really important. Notice how the conclusion is about all students. All students have unique talents. And the premises are about a few students. I met a few students yesterday. I met some students yesterday. That's what the premises are about. But the conclusion is about all the students. So notice, we are moving from a statement about some of the students to a conclusion about all the students. That's going to make it an inductive argument. When you go from some in the premises to all in the conclusion, that's an inductive argument. When you go from part in the premises to whole in the conclusion, right? Part would be a few students, whole would be all the students. When you do that, when you go from part in the premises to whole in the conclusion, you have an inductive argument. All right, so let me just say this very clearly. When an argument goes from part in the premises to whole in the conclusion, that's an inductive argument. When the argument goes from whole in the premises to part in the conclusion, deductive. Another way of thinking about it is like this. An inductive argument is basically an educated guess. And what you're doing is you're going from part of the pie, a slice of the pie, to the whole pie. That's an educated guess. I've had one slice of this pie, and so I'm going to make an educated guess about the whole of the pie. Inductive. Deductive is the other way. I know something about the whole pie. The whole pie is pumpkin, and therefore I know something about part of the pie. Part of the pie is pumpkin. So deductive goes from the whole to the slice, from the whole to the part. Let's look at another argument. Okay, here's another argument. Your whole house must be clean. I know because 90% of your house is clean. Notice the premise says 90% of your house is clean, part of your house is clean, therefore your whole house is clean. The conclusion is about the whole house. Because it goes from part to whole, it's inductive. Part in the premises, whole in the conclusion, inductive. Let's look at another argument. I think John is a nice man because I've met him twice and he was very nice. Notice what's going on here. We're talking about some of John's behavior. 2 times I met him, he was nice. And then the conclusion is about John on the whole. In general, John is a nice man. Right? So you see how it has that part to whole. Part of his behavior was nice. To the whole, in total, John is a nice man. Okay, so that's inductive because we go from part in the premises to whole in the conclusion. Argument number 4. Okay, let's look at another example. John loves ice cream. Why? because John is from Vermont and everyone from Vermont loves ice cream. Notice the premises are about what? Everyone from Vermont. The conclusion is about what? One person from Vermont. Notice that's going from whole, everyone from Vermont, to part, one person from Vermont, John. Okay? When you go from whole to part, that's going to be deductive. Another argument. Susan is a hero. Why? Because Susan saved a child's life, and everyone who saves a child's life is a hero. Notice, the premises are about everyone who saves a child's life. That's about the whole. All the ones who save a child's life. And then the conclusion about one person who saved a child's life. So we're going from the whole, all the people who saved a child's life, to part, one person who saved a child's life, Susan. And so it goes from whole to part, and that's why it's deductive. Another argument. People from West Virginia are very friendly. Why? Because I've met 274 people from West Virginia, and they were all very friendly. Okay, notice. In the premises, we're talking about some people from West Virginia. Namely, we're talking about 274 of them. In the conclusion, we're talking about all the people from West Virginia. The whole, right? So we're going from part in the premises to whole in the conclusion. So this is inductive. Argument number 7. People from West Virginia are very friendly. Why? Because everyone east of Kansas is very friendly. So notice in the premises, we're talking about everyone east of Kansas. And then we get more specific. We go down to a part of that in the conclusion. We talk about people from West Virginia. So we go from the whole, everyone east of Kansas, to part of that whole, people from West Virginia. And that's why it's deductive. All right, I'll stop the video here, but I'll be doing more videos that will be helpful for those who are struggling to distinguish inductive and deductive arguments.